Yo, what's up, sports bettors? Alex here, and I'm going to be running you through a bunch of player props that I have for today on PrizePicks. And I say this all the time, but the purpose of these videos, right, is obviously to give you guys profitable picks on PrizePicks that you can tail, but it's also to explain to you sharp sports betting, right? How to find inefficiencies in the market, how to find value on PrizePicks and win long term. So the first tool that I oftentimes use is right here. So this tool is called the odds screen. Right? So screen to odds screen. And what it lets you do is it lets you browse odds for a specific market. So currently I'm looking at NBA player rebounds, but you can look at whatever you want, right? And basically how I use this tool is I look for discrepancies in where PrizePicks or Underdog or any of the sports books, right? We're going to be talking about PrizePicks in this video, but the same strategies, they apply to finding value on parlay play, Underdog fantasy, sports books like FanDuel. It's the same strategy, right? You're just trying to find inefficiencies, value in the market. So what you're going to notice about Jabari Smith is all books have his line at 9.5, right? 9.5 rebounds. There's no major discrepancies in the odds, so there's no value in the market, right? So we don't want to touch any of these plays with a 10-foot pole. All books have the odds at roughly the same level. PrizePicks and Underdog, there's no difference in where they're setting the line, so there's no value in the market. We don't want to touch this play. Martin, all books have his line at 5.5, no major discrepancies in the odds. PrizePicks and Underdog also have his line at 5.5, no value in the market. Kevin Porter, exact same thing. All books have his line at 4.5, no value in the market. So sometimes you're able to find, using the screen, big discrepancies in NBA player rebounds, assists, player points. But right now, I wasn't able to find really any good plays using this tool. So we'll move on to the next tool that I use. This is kind of the first one I use, but there's a lot of tools you can use. So the second tool I use is right here. It's called the Positive Expected Value Betting Tool, right? And the way this tool works is it pulls in odds from PrizePicks, right? It's constantly updating every line on PrizePicks. So you look at PrizePicks, they probably have 10,000 odds on their platform at any given time in terms of NBA, MLB, all these different lines you can bet on. So what the EV tool is doing is it's pulling in odds from the sports books, it's pulling in lines from PrizePicks, and it's showing you where the value is, right? So the core concept that you need to understand about PrizePicks is they won't vary payouts, right? Depending on if you select overs or unders. So you can see right here, we have a flex play where if you go 5 for 5, you get a 10x payout. You go 4 for 5, you get a 2x payout. You go 3 for 5, you get a 0.4x payout, right? This doesn't change if we switch to overs, right? Nothing changes. Your payout doesn't change based on your picks. So long story short, PrizePicks, right, they're not varying your payouts depending on if you select overs or unders. They're not even varying your payouts depending on the pick you select, right? For a 5 flex, this is always going to be your payout. It doesn't matter if you're taking overs or unders. So the strategy for beating PrizePicks is you want to find spots where sportsbooks have one side heavily favored. So if you look in the Rangers-Cubs game, every single sportsbook, first inning total runs, Texas Rangers versus Chicago Cubs, every single sportsbook has the under as the heavy favorite, right? FanDuel has the under juiced to -172, Caesars -150, WinBet -160, BetOnline, a very sharp sportsbook, -192, Pinnacle -143. So kind of sportsbooks have this around -165, -170. They have the under as the heavily favored outcome, and we can get this in our PrizePicks slip, right? And this is essentially the best strategy for beating them because, again, PrizePicks, they're not varying your payouts depending on if you select the over or the under. So to kind of illustrate this point, let's just kind of go in here. If you look at NBA games tonight, you can see the Pacers are -243 favorites, right? So what betting markets are telling you, what the sportsbooks are telling you, what the market is telling you is that, hey, the Pacers are a lot more likely to win this game, right? That's why they're -250, -300 on the sportsbooks. Right? They're a big favorite to win tonight. Lines are heavily juiced towards the Pacers. If you bet on the Pistons on BetOnline, you can bet $100 to win $235 in profit, right? So when you're betting 100 to win $235 in profit, obviously the Pistons aren't favored to win. The Pacers are heavily favored to win according to the sports books, right? And it's no different here. In the Rangers-Cubs game, the NRFI, so no runs first inning, is first inning total runs under half of a total run. That just means no run first inning, so it's abbreviated NRFI, no runs first inning. So you can see every sportsbook has the no runs in the first inning as the heavily favored outcome. right? The under is a lot more favored than the over is. So this is a great play to include in our prize pick slip because, again, prize picks is not varying your payouts based on you selecting over or under. So the easy strategy for beating them is finding spots where sportsbooks have an under or an over really heavily favored. In this case, it's the under, right? In the Rangers-Cubs game, OddsJam is scanning all these lines on sportsbooks, all these lines on prize picks, and pointing out to you, hey, all the books have this under really, really heavily favored. You can still get it on prize picks. So this is an insanely profitable play, right? So that's the first pick I went with. And I said this previously, but OddsJam recently launched a fantasy screen. So you go to screen, you can see fantasy screen. It's in beta mode. So we just launched it. It's completely free to use right now. It's in beta mode, in testing, completely free to use right now. And what this tool will just show you is the picks you should be going with. It'll show you basically just want to play all the picks in green. Completely free to use right now, the OddsJam fantasy screen. So all this is doing is pulling in odds from all the sportsbooks, similar to the EV tool, and showing you where sportsbooks have an under or an over really heavily favored, and then telling you the probability that that pick wins, right? So this is essential, right? Because we said earlier on prize picks, it doesn't matter if you take overs or unders. It's all about what percentage of your picks can you win, right? So I've given this example before, but if you're able to win 57% of your picks, so if you can select overs and unders, right? If you can select overs and unders just like this one at a rate of 57%, so you're winning your picks 57% of the time, you're losing 43% of the time. So you're winning 57, you're losing 43% of the time. Your ROI playing 5 flexes would be really good. 19.25%, so extremely high. You have a 19.25% ROI if you're selecting your picks that are hitting at a rate of 57%. Now, what's crazy about this is if we go over to a 2-pick power play, this is why you'll always see me playing 5 flexes, right? Like if we go to my entries, here you can see the first one. I'm always going to be playing 5 or 6-pick flexes for this reason. If you play 2-pick power plays, right, for a 5 flex, if you're hitting your picks at a rate of 57%, your ROI was 19.25%. For a 2-pick power play, your ROI is negative 2.53%. Negative. So all I did was I went to PrizePicks, right, and I broke down how their payouts work, and you can see, just literally going through the payouts saying, hey, if I'm winning 57% of my picks, what's my ROI? It's negative for a 2-pick power play if you're winning 57% of your picks. You're still losing long term, whereas in a 5 flex, again, you're going to be super profitable, right? 19.3% ROI. So PrizePicks is a little misleading in that way, right? Because you don't want to just sign up and start wagering on PrizePicks because 2-pick power plays are absolutely horrible, right? You have to be finding 5 picks to include in a 5 flex or a 6 flex because they're giving you the highest payouts, right? If you're winning 55% of your picks in a 5-pick flex play, your ROI is still positive, 5%. So you just need to hit 55% of your picks. You can lose 45%. Your ROI is going to be positive 5%. Whereas again, for a 2-pick power play, your ROI would be negative 9.25% if you're winning 55% of your plays. So it's really, really, really important, right, that you're playing 5-pick flexes. And then the strategy is pretty simple, right? All we know is to win 5 flexes, we need to be hitting our picks at a rate of roughly 55%. So all we need to do is find spots where sportsbooks have an under really heavily favored or an over really heavily favored. And you can see the fantasy screen will literally show you the win probability for each pick. So this Rangers-Cubs pick is 58.33% to win, right? And that's not surprising because all the sportsbooks have this under so heavily favored, right? They have it around minus 170 odds. The under is a big favorite. So it's hitting 58.33% of the time. That means if all our picks in a 5 flex could hit at a rate of 58.33%, if all of our picks were this juiced towards the under, right, and we got them in a prize pick slip, our ROI would be 19.5%. If you could win 58.33% of your plays, your picks in a 5 flex, your ROI long-term over the course of the long run on prize picks is going to be insane, 29.5%, so crazy high. But you can see, of course, not every play is going to be that profitable. If we go down to SV, over 20.5 points plus assists, you can see sportsbooks have this over, heavily favored, around minus 140, minus 145. It's 55.09% to win. So if you put in 55.09%, then you can see, okay, if all our picks are winning roughly 55.09% of the time, our ROI is going to be 5.6% on PrizePicks. So basically, if you use the fantasy screen, you can take kind of an average. So you can see most of these are about 55% to win. This play was insanely good, right? The NRFI, the no runs first inning, and Rangers Cubs, where sportsbooks have the under really heavily favored on the positive EV tool. This play is insanely good. Also on the fantasy screen. So let's say our picks are an average of, 55.5% to win. Like if you just took an average of the top 5 and you just selected these top 5 picks from the fantasy screen, your ROI would be roughly, and I'll include this sheet in the description again, but your ROI would be 8.42%, right? So pretty good. Pretty good. You're just looking for picks that are winning, 54.5, 55, 56% of the time on PrizePicks, and you can use the fantasy screen, which just pulls in odds from all the sports books and shows you the plays that have the highest probability to hit. Or you can use the positive EV tool, which is a little more, mathematical and kind of a little more stringent. So long story short, pretty simple. All the sports books here have the under really heavily favored. PrizePicks isn't varying payouts based on us selecting over or under, so this is an incredible play to include. And it's not just like we have one data point telling us the NRFI is favored. You have 1, 2, 3, right? You have literally like 10 sports books posting odds, and they're all telling you the same thing. This under half of a first inning total run, the NRFI should be the heavy favorite. So when you're using the EV tool, it's pretty simple. All you want to do is find 5 of these plays that are in bold, in green, so you can filter for sports books, whatever, right? So you can see right here, filtering for PrizePicks, and then you just select 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 4. And then you can head over to the fantasy screen or the OddsJam screen. And again, I say this all the time too, but get multiple sports books. We're talking about PrizePicks in this video, but you can see all these books, right? They set lines independently. You can see here the odds differ from book to book. So you never know which sports book is going to have value in profitable bets on a given day. Sometimes FanDuel has more plays. Sometimes it's PrizePicks. Sometimes it's Underdog Fantasy, right? So the more platforms you have, the better, right? You can see this play, this other NRFI play that we're on in the Mariners-Guardians game, right? It's not on Underdog Fantasy. It's only on PrizePicks. So if you only use Underdog, then you're missing out on this play. If you haven't signed up for PrizePicks yet, then you're missing out on this really profitable play. All the sports books have this around, minus 145 odds. You're getting minus 119 on PrizePicks, right? In a 5 flex. So if you're missing out on PrizePicks, you're missing out on this profitable play. But again, all you want to do is find 5 spots. You just need 5 picks to form a profitable 5 flex. So all you need is 5 picks that are hitting like 55% of the time, and you use, these sportsbook odds to kind of find these spots where you're getting plays that are winning above 55% of the time, right? Just like this one, where sportsbooks have the NRFI heavily favored. We definitely want to be including this in our PrizePicks play. Same thing here. Of course, the profit margin is lower, but again, you're never going to be able, I should say you probably will never be able to get all your plays to have an 8% profit margin in a 5 flex. That's a little unreasonable. So you're going to have some plays that are 1%, 2% profit margin, right? Just like you can see here. But the same concept applies. Here, all sportsbooks have the under, the NRFI, heavily favored. You can see FanDuel here, they're only minus 138. They're not minus 172 like they were on the first one. So sportsbooks, right, betting markets, these, sportsbooks have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in their ability to set lines, right? Their models are better than yours. Whatever you think it's priced into the odds. All public information, all data, everything is priced into sportsbook odds, as well as supply and demand. Right? Sportsbooks, just like the price of a stock goes up or down due to supply and demand, it's no different in sports betting. If all the sharp action and all the syndicates, right, and the sports betting hedge funds, if they all come in and they start hammering the NRFI, these lines are going to move from minus 172 to minus 180 to minus 190, right? Sportsbooks move around odds due to supply and demand. If all the action is coming in on the under, then they move lines in favor of the under, right? Because it's a market. Just like the stock market, people want to buy a stock, that means the price should be higher. If all the action is coming in on the under, that means the under is more favored, right? Sportsbooks work the same way Sports betting is the same thing as the stock market in that way. It's based on supply and demand. All the action comes in on the under. That means the under should be more favored. Sportsbooks move odds in favor of the under. So 1, 2, again, less juiced here, less profitable of a play, but still a great slip to include. Then we have Chris Bassett, under 4.5 strikeouts. Steve Johnson versus Francis Tiofi, over 21.5 games. And then you can see I have a bunch of these plays in a few different flexes, right? So I have Texas, Cubs, no run first inning. Indians, Mariners, no runs first inning. Bassett, under 4.5 strikeouts. OG Anunoby, under 4.5 rebounds. Francis, over 21.5 games. Same thing here. I just replaced the tennis pick with Svi, over 20.5 points plus assists. And then here you can see I just ended up replacing OG Anunoby with Jose Abreu, over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. All these plays from the OddsJam fantasy screen or the positive EV tool, right? Just looking for spots where sportsbooks have one side, either the over, the under, heavily favored, and let's make money.